what you really need. You're going to have to look at the pattern itself. So what pattern you're finding yourself in is going to have a common thread, right? It's going to make you feel a certain way. Each relationship is going to make you feel a certain way. And even more importantly, each relationship is going to make you think a certain thing about yourself. So when you think that thing about yourself, and it hurts to think that thing about yourself, they're making you doubt yourself in a certain kind of way, and it always happens like this, let's say, then it's very simple. Your, let's say, developed inner child, so they were going through something when they were little and something bad happened, right? They formed a belief about themselves and they want to overturn that belief because deep down inside you know that it isn't true. So when you can identify the pattern and the belief that it's making you say to yourself about yourself, now you're cooking. Now you're moving. Now you're going to start to get out of this thing. Now you're going to start to get some traction. You're going to start to see the red flags before you get too into the relationship, or you're already in the relationship and you're going to be able to ask yourself some really targeted questions in the middle of a fight so it doesn't turn into a fight. Then you ask yourself questions like, okay, this feels really bad and familiar. What am I making this mean about myself? And then you notice, holy crap, that's what I've been saying in all my relationships. Now, you know you're far enough along on your spiritual journey that belief isn't true. You're way past, having to convince yourself, okay? You're watching this video, you're way past that. So now that it's on the surface and you know, oh my God, this is what I'm trying to overturn. I'm trying to overturn this belief by sort of manifesting this partner who's going to make me feel the same way. That is your soul trying to purify itself, trying to purify meaning clear the self-defeating beliefs off the table. That if you can, it's a painfully brilliant system that we process, that we end up in. We're in a situation we don't like, but it's actually because that person's bad behavior, let's say, is kind of a mirror to a belief that we already have in us that we know we don't want anymore. It's almost like, think of it as like it's bubbled to the surface. Let's say the feeling is, I'm never a priority. I'm not special. Because that's what your parent taught you that. It made you feel that way. That belief is no longer sustainable in your body, in your energy, in your mind, in your spirit, in your being. That belief, it doesn't work at all anymore. And it's like this is a spiritual journey in how I experience it, and how, it's my opinion, that our beliefs are going to bubble up to the top and become so apparent and also so intolerable that we have to overturn them. We're forced to look at them. We're forced to. And so that's why, as you as a spiritual person, you can look at your partner, you can look at your whatever colleague and say, okay, what belief is that throwing at me right now? And then if you can kind of like work with that, like, oh, it's making me believe this about myself, then you can start chopping the legs off the four, legs under a table, and you start whacking them out. No, it's not true because of this, and that. And you can find your own personal, very core targeted affirmation to work with it. But I just want to say this. That does not mean that you have to stay with a situation, because sometimes people ask me all the time, is it me or should I change the situation? Sometimes your evolution is actually letting go of a situation. It's not just changing yourself. Sometimes the change that you have to make within yourself is that you let go of that situation. You say, oh, I've grown so much, and this person's not going to change, or this job's not going to change, or this income's not going to change, that you actually make a decision to shift a timeline, meaning you're going to end that. And that is not a failure on your shadow work or your personal development. That is the upgrade that your shadow work revealed to you. So sometimes it'll be one where you're working on yourself and you shift the thing. I've had it where I have a client who's like really, really thought something was wrong with her. She thought she was going absolutely bonkers. Had what we thought was super narcissistic partner. Like, I was all in with like, oh my God, like, I didn't tell her straight out, but I was like, she's got to ditch this guy. And she actually did some really deep processes on herself. And she let go of some really heavy stuff and some deep spiritual stuff. And she let go of some deep spiritual stuff. And she started speaking with her boyfriend in a whole new way. And guess what? He changed. He was like, okay, because the polarity stopped. So she stopped being really intensely explaining everything and super hypersensitive. She started being a little tougher and just being like, hey, you're doing this, I don't like it, blah, blah, blah. And he actually liked it. It made him stop having, like, he wasn't triggered and polarized into being his weakest, worst self. So now they're like both doing work on themselves and they are still together and it's amazing. But that's what can happen. You can either change the person or change your life.